a number of things that they need to be saying. I'll start off with the Director, Bulawayo Vendors and Traders Association. Bengicela ukuthi aze phambili uMichael Ndiweni azokutsho indaba ezikhona, mainly when it comes to ama vendors awabulawayo. Thank you so much, Siyabonga. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Director of Ceremonies. Salbonani Badbagit. Salbonani. Abantu bakhabe diners vela udla nje, at least this energy. Without wasting time, I would have loved the mayor to be here to just respond to the fact that vendors or traders are poor people. They are not poor people. If you look at the statistics of our GDP, about 60% of our GDP comes from the informal economy. About $40 billion dollars comes from the informal economy. So that's huge, and that cannot be said are poor people, but it's people that are not recognized by the state and also by authorities. In our case, local authorities. That is the issue. But there are rich people who actually carry this economy, and by and large, most of us here are trading, and we are supplementing our incomes by doing an extra business from what we are doing from our formal jobs for those that are formally employed. And my name is Michael Ndiweni, as it has been said, and I'm from Bulawayo Vendors and Traders Association. I will start briefly by what we have done, so that you have a picture. I know there are some colleagues here who might be meeting me for the first time or hearing about us for the first time as BVTA. So we have done quite a lot of work in promoting the recognition of the informal economy in Zimbabwe and, of course, the city of Bulawayo. And at the top of our achievement is the review of the 1976 bylaw that was being used by the city of Bulawayo. I'm glad that we have Mama Lapano, Mrs. Mpofu. We actually did a model bylaw, and as I had a council, council looked at the model bylaw by discussing full council meeting, by discussing our committees, I think council Moyo, and then they took part of what we recommended, and then they reformed the Bulawayo sector bylaw. So, Maposa, just to say to you, I think you raised a concern about an SI, and I want to check at local level if the SI is, maybe it's at government level, it's at local level, but it's at local level. Maybe my proposal, if you haven't done that, is to maybe do a model, a bylaw of that one, and then engage council through the office of the mayor and also the office of the town clerk. It will get to the system, the council. Perhaps you can make some movements in that regard. We have also developed the Bulawayo Informal Sector Enhancement Strategy, the BEES strategy. This strategy is meant to integrate the informal economy into the Bulawayo City Corporate Strategy. We did this with Mrs. Bofu and other council officials and other councillors and other stakeholders, and this strategy is sitting somewhere with the city of Bulawayo. We proposed what we thought would be useful in terms of integrating the informal economy into the Bulawayo corporate or Bulawayo mainstream economy. And I can tell you that from that strategy, we've made a number of movements. One of the movements is the signing of MOUs between Bulawayo City Council and the informal economy associations. So Bulawayo City Council has 7 MOUs with 7 associations defining how associations in the city cooperate with the city of Bulawayo. And what has been birthed from that is that Bulawayo is what is called Bulawayo Informal Economy Working Group. And BVTA is the secretariat. And the BUTA, Bulawayo Upcoming Trade Association, is the chairperson. And from that, some of you might have seen in the media, the government of Zimbabwe appointed one of our members to be part of the advisory council of the informal economy in the Ministry of previous government, Ministry of SMEs. So we have a representative from Bulawayo sitting in the advisory council with the president advocating issues of informality or advancing issues of informality. Just to show you what we have done in terms of moving issues of informality to Bulawayo. The other part is that we have done models in terms of access to decent working spaces. But Wabunyati spoke about decent working spaces for people working in the informal economy. As BVTA working with our partners, CSOs and Councillors, Dan Church 8, and other partners that are complementing this work, we've been able to build a market. Some of you have passed Nkulumane. You have seen a structure with a blue roof. I know blue roof is very popular in Zimbabwe, right? So we have a blue roof structure right at the intersection of Siepambili and Cameron. That structure there is a fruit and vegetables market that is built by BVTA, CSOs and Councillors, Dan Church 8, and also other partners that are supporting the project. Why are we doing that? We're trying to show you what we mean by decent working spaces. And if our economy is sitting at 70% of our GDP coming from the formal economy, we then don't need to have people sitting on the floor or on the surface, on the pavement, with the yellow mat as a trading space. We need to ensure that there's decency in terms of where they're working from. We need to ensure that people have got their trading spaces where nxa isudlisina ababaleki bechiya impahla, nxa kugodola kabachiya impahla, nxa kulothuli into abazithengisayo nxa ukudla kungena ingcekeza. So I am saying to the councillors that are coming now, we have done a model of the market in store of Flower. We throw the ball back to you. Ukuthi lina elingenayo lizakwenzani for the biggest contributor of our economy. In Bulawayo and also at the country at large. One thing that we need to deal with, that will actually come to knock on your doors, councillors, is the need to ring fence what you collect from the informal economy and reinvest it back, because that is the economy. Right now, for instance, licensing for our traders, kumele besuke e-Country Park, baze Dartmoor lapha eRose Camp la, ezobhadala license. Whereas we have housing offices in almost each and every township where people pay rates, babhadala amanzi angithi, babhadala ama-rates ezindlu angithi. But then for a trader to get a license, he has to commute from as far as Pumla South to town to pay $5 to get a license. Does that make sense? Councillors, it's making sense to you. I spend $3 to come to town, pay for $5. Whereas there's a housing office where someone is paying. Why not then make it a one-stop shop? Kutumunda apatali amanzi, apatali iretiendu, apita get license at that housing office. And then you will create a space where you generate more revenue, and more people will feel compelled to pay, formalize their business. But let me just say this before I proceed. Umuntu register company. You don't have to do vetting. If vendor central they take fingerprints. It's your bylaw that says that. And come on, councillors. Your bylaw says a vendor to get a license they must do vetting. But now, register company and private business corporation, private limited company, that is what needed. I will look for the consultant, a minister of youth through Youth Council. In figuring $40, I get my things done. Why then, therefore, a vendor is made to go through all this process of vetting, my fingerprints, I town, I Dartmoor, I Laina, I would have called. But when I went there, there were no chance. Why not make it more decent, even for them to access these services? I am saying let's decentralize licensing, councillors and Bulawayo City Council. Please support us, CSOs. Right, I'll go back to Nkulumane. Nkulumane is a white elephant. We used to have activities happening in Nkulumane complex, even in Ntumane complex. But the test banks moved to the city. All the banks mobile money or these service providers who is complementing banks and retail chains. But as we speak right now, all those have moved to town. It's only in Nkulumane nowadays the new guy in Nkulumane. I think there's Choppies and another guy. But the rest of the companies have moved to the city center. And we cannot house everyone here. I heard people saying, I'm not going to go to town. It is because maybe the local government stakeholders have failed to create a thriving business in those malls, or thriving businesses in those malls. So as a result, people have moved to the city. So we need to rethink decentralization. Now, City Council has a decongestion policy that I'm aware of. And we need to see that happening by not getting vendors only out of the city. Let me agree with the space in the city is finite. Angeke senele sonke in the CBD. But traders have to move to where there's vehicular and human activity. And it is your duty as council to ensure that Enkulumane there's an activity. For instance, Enkulumane Lapana, it's a transport interchange. That is westbound, Bocholocho, parts of Plumtree, southbound, part of Gwanda, part of Mad South. You can connect going further to Country Park, going to Big Falls. You can connect coming to town or going further east. You can connect going to Open Side. But Agula activity. So until and when we then change our mindset to create new business hubs in the city, we will continue seeing people coming to the city. So let's make sure that we utilize those. CSO in almost all the shops. Yes, it's privately owned by Old Mutual, and we have said this to them. We need to engage with government, with all stakeholders, and ensure that you don't have locks hanging all over here, but we're a business. And I'm pushing council to engage that company and ensure that at least they contribute towards decongestioning the city by creating activities there. Because abantu bayadura. And makudura, let's put our heads together and ensure that we are around by 7 in the corner. I feel I must be emphatic on this because people are saying, but they can only be here if we don't work together. But if we put our heads together, we'll find a solution. Now, Kangela won't tell Pumla South, Pumla East rather. There was nothing there before the advent of COVID. But I tell there's an activity there, it's some people that went there and saw an opportunity. My point is, let's identify such hubs and create opportunities in urban areas. You will then deal with the problem in the CPD. Of course, let's deal with Kodin. Right, so I'll go on and talk about other ideas that we think this council can explore as we move forward. We also think that Bulawayo as a city has to look at its urban resilience policy. Councillors, look at the urban resilience policy. There is this narrative. I think sorry Baba Nyatis, I would disagree with you a bit. You spoke about Doropo Asonabayang. I think you used those words or a word almost similar or a synonym to that. But if you look at issues of poverty right now, juxtapose poverty as urban poverty currently because of the nature of how things are of our economy and your poverty Semakai, you'll find that the poverty is more pronounced here in the city. But it is not the making of a young person or a woman or a man who stays in the city. It's not their fault. So therefore, we will not say as if it's their fault where they are. So we need then as leaders to provide solutions by looking at our urban resilience policy and ensure that it's responsive to the current trends. For instance, let me talk about into ukulima edolobheni as an example. Abantu bengalima ngithi siyabuya lama-special then sizoqhumbwa, right? Because it's against the bylaw, right? Hello? Alingizwa ngoba. Ngithi umuntu engalima umbethawo nathi we go with ama-special then we go and cut umumbu wakhe ngithi. Akusikho yini? Why? It's because of our urban resilience policy that we need to deal with. So we need to reform our policies. I am not saying people must do as they please in the city, but let's look at what can work for our city. Because there is more poverty in the cities now as compared to in the rural areas. Let me give an example. Katesa dorobheni when ukade umshova imali, when uthengisa ingwa imali, when ubhadala rent imali, ubhadala amanzi imali. Angithi ekhaya it's not akula demand enjalo. But you cannot say ukuthi nxa ungakwanisi ukuhamba ekhaya. No, that would be that would be inhumane. I think we would behave like animals. So we need to say, what can we do for our people in the cities to adapt to the current trends and ensure that they survive, ensure that we have resilient cities. So let's look at our urban resilient policy in the city and ensure that it's responsive to the current trends and make our cities inclusive and resilient. and deal with poverty that are affecting young people, as I made an example of young people. And then I just weigh in on the issue of the polluter pays principle. Baba Zwaita, I fully agree with you that we need to be very punitive when it comes to pollution. Let's adopt the polluter pays principle. Abanye bethu ngapha siyawasiyangcolisa ngithi. Abanye bese siyethukile kuthiwa idoti. Abanye we are the ones who throw it everywhere. I've seen workshops. Let me give an example. I've seen workshops. Yeah, okay, I have an example of it. My sister, you will look past them, just where you're sitting. Yeah, no. Just near your chair. Yeah, you see? Here in the workshop, we eat our sweets, we throw the papers down. Those plastic papers. And we leave water bottles down after the workshop. They're cheer. And then we're saying we're leaders, we expect communities out there to behave when we are failing to behave. And I've seen many workshops. I walk away, carry my handbag, carry my essential bag. Nicely come with the Fed, with the Brazilian. And we are saying we're leaders. So we need to change the mindset ourselves first before we talk about other people. So that's my challenge. We need to cancel. If it means getting volunteers to arrest people who do that, please pass a bylaw that says that. And I will be first to enforce it as an association. We will do that. Because it's a culture, it's a mindset, the culture which doesn't need to change. And then, of course, we will continue pushing for policies that support the repurposing of waste. I think Kumbo spoke about issues of waste management. We are doing something already with our partners where we are trying to get young people machines to do crushing, to do waste picking. But of course, the issue of laws that my brother is talking about is a limiting factor. We are also praying that, please, the incoming council, youth center yakatesa isiya kudala leyana eleflow efakwe concrete. Please, as you get into council, look at the youth centers. I want to pop up as an example. Youth center okule holo khona lapha. Uphahla amaplaka ayalenga so. Ngahamba kwesizinda. Utshani babugaka so. Ngabona ngamamehlo la. But we have councillors, and there's never councillor in these words. Silama to caretaker ngithi. That we pay from our mind. That's what we pay amanzi. I hope you have amanzi. But do you pay to council? If we pay, then council pays those workers our savings. Our basic things like ukhathutsha nathi yathi depend ukuthi bapenda uphahla abantu bethele ngezibhikira ngithi lubuye. But uqhuma utshani ke. So what are we paying those people for? Councillors, let's have our centers working again. It is time to drain the swamp. It is time to drain the swamp. Let's get youth centers working, not just ukuvula nje, but have an equipment that is modern. And our border is, but that is we're talking about ICTs, we're talking about innovation hubs, we're talking about incubation hubs for business, young entrepreneurs. And singasaleli, we're talking about artificial intelligence these days. Let's not be behind. So councillors, I pray that when you go to the council, you will look at these issues and try to ensure that you can benefit from a provision of good services for them to be able to also compete with other people in the world. And of course, I just pray that there is good stewardship of our resources, councilling. I am happy the mayor is emphatic on corruption. He's very emphatic. I think this has been his message even before he was elected. And I am happy that seems people were clapping hands when he was saying that. And we also pray that when you're sitting there, please, God tell us our resources. People get stands, yes, it's your entitlement in terms of law. I think you get a commercial and the residential, if I'm not mistaken. But my youth that thing is stand up waiting list. Yes, but don't get all the land. There's a townhouse at the expense of young people who are on the waiting list. My prayer, of course, you said we don't want to meet 5 years from now discussing the same problems. And I believe that this new council is going to be different. I am happy with this meeting, yenziwe, befika, and we say what we think should be done. And I'm telling you, if you don't do this, it is as God. Ngiyabonga.
Salbonani, or councillor and fellow civil society members. Thank you so much to BPRA for the opportunity to have this engagement. And may I begin by congratulating the councillors for being elected to serve the residents of Bulawayo, more so the women and young people of Bulawayo. Cognizant that you are coming into office when Bulawayo is faced with a myriad of challenges, my focus is going to be on issues affecting women in terms of e-service delivery. Isikhathi esiningi sinanzelela ukuthi khona omama abekho phakathi, they are not involved in terms of e-decision making. Isicelo sethu bo-councillor ukuthi khona linanzelela ukuthi khona umuzi ngumama. So sicela i-inclusion in terms of e-decision making, more so in terms of how to utilize the ward retention fund. I'm sure all mama in the communities have better, brilliant ideas on how this can be utilized. So sicela lis include, we need the resuscitation of ama women's clubs, ekhona ema club, tina sakula o mama, besiya ema club, and generating income is no longer there. Ama clubs ekhona kuma different suburbs, western suburbs, asacaci ukuthi uhamba njani. So we'd really look forward to the resuscitation of that, including ama youth clubs that has already been mentioned. Slow to Golamas. And Utugolamas luhlupha kakhulu umama. Ngoba umama ngiyomele ayilayini lamanzi eskocho, akochos. That's laborious, that's time consuming. Sicela lisincede khonapho, there's also a lot of jostling, and women and children get abused in the process. So we really need you to relook into the water crisis and how best to alleviate the situation, in the process ensuring that women are safe, women and children are safe. Zathanda njalo ukukhuluma ngendaba yama clinics, the council clinics. These are operational on weekdays, Monday to Friday. Disadvantaging one, omama abasebenzayo, that would probably want to accompany abantwana for antenatal clinic care, or ama ukambisa abagulayo ababebakhangele, probably because they may be occupied during the week. So sicela sikhangele khonokho ukuthi khona, can cancer clinics be opened on weekends as well? This is our peer, so that these are accessible to everyone at any time. Ngeke ngithi ukuthi mina ngizagula Monday to Friday, nge-weekend angisoze ngigule. I can't determine that. So it's very important to also have that into consideration. And also they need to revamp the current health facilities and equip with modern equipment, especially to benefit the vulnerable in our communities. Another issue that's affecting women is that of poor street lighting and lack of maintenance and service of tower lights. We know ukuthi jurisdiction yamagetsi ayisoyena ungekazesa, kodwa sikhangele ukuthi ngesikhathi amagetsi ekhona umbane ukhona, there is proper lighting kuma streets. Kulabo mama abachayisa late from work, babefisa ukuthi behambe kukhanya kulama streets abakhanyiselayo kanye labantombazana. So we really need you to ensure that the street lighting, tower lights are maintained, globes they are replaced timelessly to make the streets safe for the women and girls. It is important. I think on the issue of the vending stalls, my colleague Mike has already touched on that. So we also need socially excluded communities that include West Pickers, people with disability, abadala, children living in the streets, and orphaned and vulnerable children to be considered. We know there's the Mayor's Christmas Cheer Fund, but we feel that there's need for a more focused eye and ear to create empowerment and affirmative action for these socially and economically excluded people. And then maybe to deviate from for my prepared speech, Pam, my apologies. I think this one has been burning, and I'm so happy that Mayor Coulthard has mentioned this, the issue of entitlement, councillors, that you feel that you can get away with the law because the law says you should benefit from housing stands, because the law says you should benefit from commercial stands. We go on to grab that at the expense of the vulnerable in our community. Please, whenever you think of that, just think of Ugogo, the young person that voted for you. What if they had faith and hope that you'll do better for them? So in as much as probably there's a bylaw that says you are entitled to a housing or a commercial stand, think of us. And if you really need it, get it at the market value. And probably maybe stretch your payments for the 5 years that you are in office, than to get it for 120 bonds. Thank you so much.
So, yeah, I'm here to just sell out our expectations as persons with disabilities to the newly elected councillors. Congratulations. So, I can't dwell on our expectations without emphasizing on disability inclusion. I'm from a community, or rather a constituency, that constitutes about 1.5 million in the Zimbabwean's population. And research has proved what we have found in these largest cities, Harare and Bulawayo, Sibaneng, right? So basically, it is also important to talk about disability, because I've really noticed that in these communities that we belong to, we are oftenly treated based on the charity model of disability. Yes, it's important, especially when we are now looking at the mayor's Christmas funds, the social welfare, this, that. But as the disability activists, as disability inclusion practitioners, we want to move from the charity model of disability to the human rights model, where we are enabled the chance to participate on equal basis with others. Hello. So I'd like to announce to the newly elected councillors, which I'm very proud, because out of all the cities, Bulawayo City Council, the city of Bulawayo, managed to craft the disability policy. So as persons with disabilities, we hold you accountable as per the disability policy. I had the privilege to be part of the technocrats that crafted the policy, and we launched it in 2018. Right, so according to the City of Bulawayo's disability policy, persons with disabilities include those with long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, which in interaction with various barriers may hinder their full participation on the equal basis with others. We appreciate that disabilities are diverse and kumele participate in my communities ngendlela ezihlukeneyo. So when it comes to disability inclusion, what is it? It is about how we make sure in our programs that everyone has the same opportunity. And when it comes to service delivery issues, as persons with disabilities, we are the most affected. Councillors are service delivery cadres. Would like to see you mainstreaming us in our activities so that we are given a chance to express our effects of service delivery, at the same time working together to try and curb the challenges. So people with disabilities typically face a number of barriers that prevent them from participation. Barriers that we've often encounter maybe physical or environmental barriers. I would like to appreciate that as you resume your work as councillors, you are able to formulate what development committees. Kindly quote me right. I regard a ward development committee without a person with a disability represented as null and void. We need to be represented until it's a farmer committee. Was I represented? And I'm glad because I know all of you. I'll follow you. I'll follow you. And I will hold you accountable. And I regard every what a development committee and I'm on disabled. You know, in terms of the challenges that we face, we are different. It's right? So we need an opportunity to self-represent ourselves. Hello? So, in terms of participation, allow me to highlight that nothing for us without us. People with disabilities have the right to be involved in all decision-making processes. E-participation addresses the stigma and promotes awareness. Then, in terms of our expectations, like I rightfully said, that if BCC launched its disability policy in 2018, the policy aims to ensure disability is mainstreamed in the policies, bylaws, regulations, and standing orders. So, our expectations as persons with disabilities, we need the introduction of a disability desk in the local authority, in the city of Bulawayo, so as to ensure that the city successfully achieves in becoming a smart and transformative city by 2024. How long, Pume? You talked about that, right? So we need our very own desk. If possible, let the desk be manned by a person with a disability, so that we feel the inclusion part that I was talking about. So we expect the inclusion of persons with disabilities in what development committees, taking into cognizance of gender disaggregation. We also need women with disabilities to be part of the committees. It is very important. So, Curtis Mengu Twitter, I follow Councillor Bruce, I follow Meli. Ubefake an update. Ukuthi njoba sezaqala umsebenzi. Kule calendar ukuthi sifisa lokufaka uzafisa ukusebenza le ward development committee, right? Bruce, I'll WhatsApp you. I'll quote you with Twitter after introducing a ward development committee. So meaning sonke copy, kindly tweet. Fagana makuphini ukuze silibambe accountable. So qali, and this is the work. Then we also expect the reviewing of council bylaws to be aligned to the disability policy. Hopefully, I'll opt to share the disability policy to one of you so that you share it in your group. We need all the policies to align to the disability policy that we have. So, disability policy states that 20% of persons with disabilities should maybe get stands. And so, so we need the observance of the 20% disability quota. As stated in the City of Bulawayo Disability Policy, on a serious note, like I said, I'm from a community that is not even taken seriously. I remember being with a disability does not hinder me of having my very own family, my husband and children. But as persons with disabilities, we are really left out in this allocation of stands. And believe me, you as the tenants, you don't want to maybe accommodate persons with disabilities as inclusive, because you still view us in that charity model lens with house apadalangani rent, my spofu and all that. So we need to be catered for through the disability quota states, and I will follow you and hold you accountable. So we also need establishment of water kiosks across the all councils, 29 wards. So in terms of water kiosks, I appreciate our challenges, it's due to the climate change that we are currently facing. And ECT Council has been trying by all means to make it a point that we access water. Like I said, that disabilities are diverse. We have the visually impaired, the deaf community, those who are using wheelchairs. And it is not always the case that if I have a disability, I must be always with the family, and the likes. So we need accessible water kiosks in all the wards. And we need to be given the first priority so that we maintain the healthy. So, budget. So we expect the council to formulate a responsive manual, budgeting manual. The community of persons with disabilities has been expressing concerns that even we participate in budget consultations now, these budget consultations now, budget it's not disability responsive. So, okay, I would like to also suggest that we need a standalone disability consultation, and I'll also be responsible of mobilizing people with diverse disabilities so that we attend these budget consultations. We need to be included in budget, because like I highlighted, we are the most affected when it comes to service delivery issues. Then with education, aware that councillors, 29 council schools go on Gamawans. We need accessible schools so that it accommodates persons with diverse disabilities. As you all know that we only have one school that is meant for people with diverse disabilities here in Bulawayo, King George. That is also very far, Ngale, Ekumalo. So parents have been expressing interest. Now we can't, it's very far, taking into consideration transport here. So we also need disability-friendly schools. We also need disability mainstreaming in schools, because I can attest to discrimination of persons with disabilities starts from schools. Before us discriminate, school. So we need to create that conducive environment where a person with a disability is at the same class with a person without a disability, so that your very own children learn. Disability is there, inclusion is important. Because one person went to King George, right? So it was very difficult for me to adapt and fit in the society. So we need disability mainstreaming as well. Then in terms of health, allow me to highlight that we need disability friendly health institutions. Last week, but one, a close friend of mine lost a baby, so she was very, very worried. The nurses were concentrating on her, asking her, is this the firstborn? Up until she lost her baby. So we need disability-friendly nurses, we need disability-friendly institutions, so that we are able to adapt and get medication. And mama with disabilities are expressing concerns in terms of accessing sexual or reproductive health services in my clinics. We often rely on non-governmental organizations, ababuya kuma community. We need to get that service in my clinic aid. So yeah, so far so good for the first quarter. Until we continuously engage. My expectations for the first quarter, you allow, I rest my case.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Bengithanda ukuqala khona lapho okugcinwe khona ngosuku. Nginanzelela ukuthi I think it's important ukuthi i-council yethu yakoBulawayo, which is the case nje throughout, even in Zimbabwe in general, ukuthi sike sibuyele le model entsha esikhipha from i-colonial setting liyane sasilayo. Ungakhangela izinto the way lokho eziphethwe ngakhona emhlubulweni lo ubo what for ubo bani khangela izikolo ezabantwana akunazikolo ngokuba ngaleso sikhathi laba babehlala ngale babesenelisa ukuthi bafike. We have not responded to the realities ukuthi namhlanje abantu abahlala ngale akuseyibo labana abantu well to do kanjalo. Ungakhangela from Falls Road, Harare Road, uzofika kuMantoposi, ngale kuka King George, ubale izikolo ubusukhangela abantwana ukuthi bahamba distance engakanani besiya esikolo right here in Bulawayo. They are actually walking ama distances esiwathole emakhaya. So it's important ukuthi zona lezi zinto sibe sizi-review sizikhangela. For instance, what Usuko was speaking to, the disability friendly school, kube le King George yafakwa kudala le. But how many suburbs esesawa edayo? Lokho si-eda bonke kumele basuke all over besiza nga. Zona lezo zinto we have to adapt to impilo esesiphila namhlanje and start looking into izinto zona leziya. And also lastly, ungangena emalokishini la akhiwa khathesi, they are not youth friendly. Somebody who wa raise khona lokho. Abantwana okwenza bahlala emabridgeini bebhema ibhanje besenza akula ma-ground. Kuyafakwa izitanda yonke indawo uthole vela kula space even esokuthi abantwana ke kube kanti lokho kwakusenziwa kudala okwabompophoma kube le ndawo zokudlalela kanti wathi kasikufuni ngubani kathesi. Akusafaka indawo ngakhangela nje kuyafakwa indlu from corner to corner abantwana baswela ama-spaces awe-recreation and zona leziya zinto they create boredom kubo zibenze baswele izinto ezingabathatha zibasuse kulokhu ku-criminal life. So those are some of the things I think with engagement xa singaxoxisana si-identify those things and also identify ama-solutions angikhona, how to address issues the crime, how to address issues the exclusion yabantu abahlukahlukeneyo, how to ensure ukuthi people abantwana abakhulayo have access to education. For me, that's a priority area. Singayenza kanjalo, our city will be something else. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Kulomunye khona apha eceleni la ufisa ukuthi athi fahla over to you.
I think some of the issues or the points that I wanted to raise, or was actually raised by Uba again, they my point, the first point speaks to the recreational facilities. And I wanted to find out from the Sit Fathers, do we really know the reason why maybe the previous governments used to leave spaces in the locations? And we are now then calling them infills. Those infills, they're creating a problem because those were breathing spaces and they were also meant for recreational purposes. But we are actually building on those spaces. What are we doing? I'll give an example from Popoma right now. You go to Popoma Park Lapan, in terms of floods, what will happen to those houses? Whereas one isn't as total because they're actually built on what? Wetlands. What are we doing as Sit Fathers? We go to Country Park. The same happened again, right? During a flooding time or periods, you would find out isn't just waterways. We allow that to happen. I think we really need to change our mindset as a people, as a nation, to ensure that we don't repeat the same. We don't build on waterways. We don't build on wetlands, because this is creating a lot of problems. I think if you're watching, news from, the European side, you can, start feeling out we are actually going to face similar challenges. So as City Fathers, I think we need to revisit this issue of building on those breathing spaces, because really to me it doesn't make sense to give someone a stand on a waterway, to give, to just, say, because he's a friend of mine, I want to give him a stand where that space was meant for recreational purposes. Let's revisit also this Centenary Park, because it used to be very clean. Right now, we are talking about condom, paper, everything. What's that? Ubuntu, Ubuntu. I think as Sit Fathers, the incoming committee or council, please, you have to revisit that issue. Then lastly, there's an issue that was raised by Mr. Ndweni to do with the polluter pays principle. I think we really need to take climate change or environmental issues seriously as a city. We need to incorporate, because we do have a lot of policies that speak to climate change. As a city, we also need to address that, right? And the issue of, where we have farmers, communities, Belima, like La line up in Pop Malapan, Ungat Kangena Pana, very Sukusua Makot, and Abandbaki, Peban Shabat. How are we going to address that? Because it's part of the environmental degradation. I think the incoming councillors, you need to guard jealously, activities, especially that are actually illegal activities that are actually happening in the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the contribution. Ukhona vele oseceleni khonapho la ebephakamisa isandla ukuthi atsho okubili okuthathu mayelana ngama presentations lawa esesiwatholile from ama CSOs. Over to you.
Mine is an acknowledgement from what the CSOs have discussed, that when I walked in this room, I was probably very ignorant of the magnanimous task that lies ahead of us as councillors. I'm so touched by the presentation when she talked about disabilities and thank you so much for such a nice discussion. But I think there's something that we need to make it very clear. Understand that the citizens of Bulawayo in particular and the civil society organization have a very bad experience when it comes to councillors. You have your own image that you have painted and portrayed when a councillor is being mentioned or is being maybe summoned in your presence. I understand that it is because of bad governance characters that you have maybe experienced before. But let me make this very clear that we are a new team, we are a new government, we carry new ideas, and we carry a new face. So give us a chance, and let's collaborate as a people in Bulawayo, not in terms of discussing ideas and solutions, but in terms of even executing whatever we discuss and agree. So if we move in that manner, we are going to achieve a lot. So give us a chance. We are a very new team, and we promise you that we carry new ideas and a new face, so you won't experience such bad leadership ethics. Number two, we have one visionary, and we are all missionaries, as you see us. And as our mayor has said that we want to clean up the city, and we have zero tolerance on corruption. We are ready as councillors to make sure that we execute that vision with honesty, with transparency, and with competence, so as to benefit Bulawayo at large. And then there was my brother who talked about our vendors. I think we have to accept and appreciate that vendors are now running our local economy as a city. We need to appreciate and accept that. And I think through the committees of council, we'll try to come up with mechanisms that promote businesses of vendors, so as to graduate them from whatever level they are to the next level. Then there's an issue of the laws that we are using. It's very true that as councillors, for example, there's an Urban Council Act and other bylaws which are very bogus in nature, which don't reflect the realities of our people, which are not aligned with the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Because remember, the founding provisions of our Constitution, it clearly states that our law is a supreme law of the land, and if there's any bylaw statute that is not aligned with the Constitution of Zimbabwe, is rendered illegal and invalid. So that is the very serious task that we have as councillors, so that we review the documents that we are using, so as to promote even efficiency on our conduct as councillors. Because you know there are issues to do with decentralization and devolution according to chapter 14 of the Constitution. We really desire that once upon a time Bulawayo must be able to generate its own income that will be used locally in Bulawayo and benefit the people of Bulawayo as a noble. So lastly, I wanted to state that we as councillors, we understand in terms of our formation and representation, as my brother has alluded, that we might not be fully fledged according to the reflection that is in the minds of the people. But we are here for everyone, you see. So we are here to represent everyone, regardless of political affiliation, sex, color, creed, or race. We are just here for everyone. We hope and trust that we're gonna build a city that will make everyone proud and happy and smile again. So just give us a chance. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Isikhathi sethu sesishiya. Ngicela ukuthi abalandelayo ukwenza ama-contributions angithi. Ngicela lingagcinise likhuluma isikhathi eside. Lingixolele.
Culture by approaching us. I think if there was any of this meeting in 2018, I missed it. But it's a good start to us as councillors and also to you as stakeholders. Because I think we have to work together towards achieving a vision of having a better Bulawayo. You have raised critical issues here, which need serious attention of councillors. So I think as we go, we have seen, we ask you to support us, to approach us on issues which will make Blawa a better city. You've raised the issue of decentralizing the license fees payment, which is very critical. You've raised the issue of decongesting the city by making sure that the Ngulumani complex is back to its normal functioning. Then you've raised the issue of urban agric, the issue of youth centers and involvement of women. I think as council, one of the councillors is drafting a motion whereby we are introducing a youth and gender committee. So I think we are in agreement in such issues. Then you've raised the issue of clinics being opened over weekends. I think we have to look on it as council. Then the issue of aligning the Urban Council Act, I think this is a collective issue which we have to work together. Aligning the Urban Council Act with the Constitution. You see, most of the things which affect the councils are the old Urban Council Act. Like what the former councillor said, that some acts are very dubious. You see? And we are certainly affected by the directives. You see? The ministry always give us directives and dubious circulars, you see, which doesn't even respect the constitution. So I think as Blawa, we have to work together to avoid such things, because those directives or those acts, they opened avenues for corruption, because they will be, their sole intention will be to pursue individual motives, not citizens' motives. So I think we have to work together so that we undo such things, because whenever we have constitutional issues, we'll definitely come to you so that you assist us by taking the ministry to court and stopping them forthwith. I thank you.
Siyabonga again. Ngizakhuluma ngendaba ye-delinquency, drug abuse, and all that. I think that issue, as our city fathers, I know kulabafana bami lapha kodwa sebengo-city fathers, sebengobaba bami as far as Moyo is concerned. We need to work a way ukuthi lina lithathe i-authority over the liquor licensing and the regulations that say at what point in time should a bottle store and a beer hall be opened for beer drinking. Because if we want a productive city, we want GDP for Bulawayo province, we want to be productive, I would want to understand why a bottle store and a beer hall would be open at 8 a.m. when everyone else is going to work. So we need to have a bylaw which goes back to our traditions. Kudala ipower yayivulwa ngo-3, abadala sebevele emsebenzini. Even emakhaya, utshwala nxa buphekiwe siyaqala siyelima, sibophe inkabi, abadala thina sesiya enkomeni, bona sebesiya epower. Sebesiya etshwaleni kozibani, angithi. So we need to go back to our culture. Say no, if it's time to work, it's Monday, even during weekends, it's good for family business. We need to protect families. And we don't need a situation where ubaba sesuke kuseni esiye emagrosa sesiya atshone ebhokisi store abantwana sebebodwa. We also need to have these fathers, even those who drink, waking up, because that's what used to happen prior to 1995, when a bottle store in Tumbani was opened to challenge the Bulawayo City Council bottle stores. That was the year that thing went haywire. I'm speaking of this because I'm a football coach, and during that time we used to have kids that used to play in the open spaces. And after 1995, we used to have our own social team. I used to work for City Council by then. We used to have our own social team, the City Council. And we used to get our fana lava, esasibathole esikweyenlezi. bedlala ama-1-on-1 impeti zabo leziyana zabafana. And then if our team was short, we would supplement with these boys. But come 1996, 97, thereabouts, 98, when our team would be short, we would go to those open spaces to look for the kids. We would not find them. We would find them by the poultry stores. So that is what has destroyed Bulawayo. Remember, my city fathers, Uhuti Bulawayo is the first city in Africa through the youth clubs to produce an English Premier League player who flew straight from Bulawayo Airport and went to play in the English Premier League, Peter Clough. It was through the City Council youth clubs. That's where Peter is a product of. He's a product of the city of Bulawayo. And Highland has benefited from the city. So let's go back to what we used to be. For the why?
I think our councillors, please bear with us. We are not there to sing and clap for you. When you do right, we'll congratulate you and clap for you. When you mess up, we'll hold you accountable. But please, we culture not only on councillors, but even on our MPs and others. Regime change agent. Please, when you accept a clap, all right, not a clap. When you accept an applause, accept a clap also. Thank you.
I just wanted to say two things because so my question was, what do we do after this? We are then going to wait, and then we have another meeting after 6 months. At the end of the day, there are things that need to be done, and those cannot be done by council alone. For instance, there's the issue of culture. Culture is at various levels. The first culture you need is yourself, the self-culture, the personal culture. We can do it, the home culture, the family culture. How are we bringing up our children? Or, I don't know, I once met a lady, she was with a small child, and banana, which was a toddler. What do I do with this? Expecting maybe the mother to take it and put it in a bin, and the mother like, fuck a pants. This was on the street. So those things, as much as we think council needs to change them, it's us. I believe maybe when we come out from here, why don't we do things like, what are we going to do? What are the steps that we need to do? And then the second point, I think it was 2008 when some people say when everything hits rock bottom. And I remember as a city, we also went back where we didn't have refuse compactors. It took, because I was also involved in that process, it took BPRA. It took BPRA, it took our office, it took council, and we purchased 5 refuse compactors. I think there was an engagement, I know it was the US Embassy, but there was an engagement, and we were able to bring, I think first point was the repairs, and also to get those trucks on the road. So what are we going to do at the end of the day? And then the second one, or the third one, I think it's unity. I remember I once went to a funeral. I'll share that one because that day, I don't know, something said the light bulb goes on. One of our aldermen had passed on. I think it was Alderman Parira. I think some of you know him. And I think you know his political career. And then we went for his service. It was probably one of the walls. And when we got to that service, there was a Minister of State called Umamu Usandimon. In that service, there was everyone that was considered Bunawan. We had all the elderly, Ohlalo, Mam Sandi, and everyone. And then you know what she said? He said, well, look at us. We are wearing different political jackets. But when it's Bulawayo, we stand up. That's what she said. She said, when it's Bulawayo, these things don't matter. When we are building Bulawayo, we stand up. So at the end of the day, we can build. And then also on unity, I know sometimes there's an us and them because obviously Now the councillors are elected, you are thinking they have to change everything and make the city better. Yes, they try their best, but let's also give them the respect. For a long time, sometimes some of us, we say so many things about the leaders that we've elected. They were elected. So let's respect and support. I'm just saying that because sometimes we strain unnecessarily our relationships on petty things. No one is perfect. If we make mistakes, you come and we correct and we build. We need to build Bulawayo. If you grew up in this city and you see where we are, and it's us who can do it. So my encouragement today is that let's start where you are. As a CSO, as a resident, what are you going to do differently that will make Bulawayo a better place? Thank you.
I'm going to, I think so I'm going to touch on maybe one or two issues. The first one is that I think that maybe I would like to thank the organizers of this meeting for the composition that I'm seeing here. But I also strongly feel that maybe next time when we are having such meetings, there is also one big stakeholder that we also need to include, which is the central government. Because some of the things that we are discussing here, they either succeed or fail because of the interference of the central government. So I think they are also a very key stakeholder in such meetings because they have to understand what the people are saying from the ground before you even talk about the councillors and other people. Because if you check, we were talking about cleanliness here in Bulawayo. Some of the challenges that we are facing might not have anything to do with the residents. They might not also have anything to do with the council, but the interference of the central government. We have got vendors in this town who came from Norway, and I understand even the person was speaking on behalf of the vendors. They are also probably facing the same challenge of having people who cannot even report to them or even have an affiliation with them just because they think that they've got a support of either a political party or the government. So I think that needs also to be looked into. We also have even buses. There was a time I approached, there was a bus which was blocking traffic here at Chicken Slice. It was a Stallion Cruise. I had to jump off my car, I approached the driver and said, look, it's 5 o'clock, it's peak time. Your bus is right on the way. You are breaking the traffic laws, you are also breaking even the city laws. The bus driver to me said, you know, we are just told to when whoever is going to ask you should come here to us. If I'm a police, I'm which means there is a bigger hand which is on top of either the city council or even the residents. Which is why I'm saying there is an elephant in the room which you are failing to also bring on board when you are discussing such issues. Because we've got even it's across the board, even combis. There are combis which are untouchable in this city. Those issues should be addressed so that whatever efforts that we are putting as councillors, central government should also be putting efforts to make sure that there's order, there's cleanliness. Because people have got a tendency of usually following where combis and buses are. Ama vendors, they follow where people are. People will follow and all of a sudden there's litter. But there's no provision for toilets from the city council, there's no provision even for bins from the city council. So I think next time the central government should also be should be involved. Then going to the issue of corruption. I also think that in as much as there's a lot of noise about council being corrupt, I also think that the CSOs, the citizens have got also a bigger role to play. Because I've seen situations where, say maybe a council, there's something that I feel that it has to be investigated. I approach, for example, maybe there's a media house, say, be it site or any other media house that I feel that maybe they can raise the issue and make it, maybe put it on outside. So then you find that maybe the person that I would have reported is saying maybe there's a case which I suspect might be corrupt, goes to those people, and you find maybe those people are also bribed so that they are silent. we've got people who have been bribing even CSOs, individuals, so that they don't speak to these issues. So I think we also have a bigger role to play in making sure that we expose corruption from all the ends. If that corruption involves maybe someone who is big, and I feel that maybe as a councillor, this person, I might be a victim at the end of the day, and I come to you to say, can you expose this? And I've given you the facts. You can't be an accomplice by being bribed as well. When I thought maybe I'm going to be the best person to expose that. So I think it's a task that we have to tackle like both ways. Then the last one on open spaces. I also think that it also goes back to issue of corruption. Where I come from in Ward 18, there is a Hawk Flight area in Pelandawa West. People are complaining right now that there were open spaces which they were told, no, this one is meant for farmer churches, this one is, this space is left to farmer grounds, but all those spaces right now, if you go there, so Lesley, people, those spaces were sold out. And if you ask those developers, there's no proper answer. So it also goes back to even issue corruption. The council, if there is a plan to say this area is meant for this, we should not just change willy-nilly, just because maybe so I think all those things, they need to be looked at from all the angles, both from the resident side and the civic society, and also us as councillors, and also in central government involved.
Just two things. Urban poverty is a serious issue. It's a serious issue for the country, it's a serious issue for the city. For me, the question that we need to ask, if you live in an area that provides services, how do you expect those services to be delivered if you can't pay? But the truth of the matter is there is massive urban poverty. That has nothing to do with the city, that has a lot to do with the whole nation of Zimbabwe. My advice would be, we should turn these councils into study areas where we keep interrogating a lot of activities. What can we do? Is it right to have a dormitory city as huge as Cow Park with no corresponding industrial activity or site? So we need to carry out a study. I'm glad we have young people who should do that. Second thing, and I am very, very serious about it. There is an issue of houses being built on wetlands in Popoma, but we have a problem in Popoma. Omama bavuka ngo-5 ekuseni bethanyela phandle kwezindlu kuze kuyefika ku-foundation. Izindlu lezina zizadilika zonke ukuthanyela khona kufanele ukwenzayo every morning. Stop ungabothanyela, iyekele vele lingathanyeli. Xa kule ngcekeza kula msebenzi, ngicela ukuthi liphumele kwelihambi. Abanye benu are not observing, that's the problem. Umuntu uyahamba adluliswe engaboni into. Mina nxa ndidlula kwaphana ngiyabona bethanyela phandle, ngibona i-foundation. And ukuthi i-culture, ukuthanyela is not a culture. So those are two things.
I'm happy I have seen uKhansila wala engihlala khona. Sadly, where I stay, ngihlala phambi kwe-sewage. I have a baby odlalela phambi kwe-sewage. So I'm happy I'll keep you on your toes and ngiyazikhetha mina ukuthi ngizakulandelela all the way. I voted for you for a reason. And then I work for an organization that deals with young women. So as young people, we are saying we grew up from a patriarchal society where we are not able to stand up in front of abantu abadala kunje ngikhulume ngofunayo. So kuma-town hall meetings, siyalicela as ama-councillors ukuthi let's have a way yokuthi as young people disengage sodwa. Kulezinto mina engabe ngizifuna but engeke ngizikhulume phambi kamama. Uthola ukuthi ubaba msethena hayi ama-recreational services awafuneki, facilities awafuneki. But mina khonapho ngiseduze ngifuna ukukhuluma into enjalo. What I want to say ukuthi ama-project phambili, because khathesi thina sesidlalela emabhawu. yiwo asekhona kulama project akula lutho nxa ngifuna ukuzikhipha sokumele ngebhawu sokumele senze intshengo. That's why we have i-drug abuse enengangaka. But kuma town hall meetings please, the same way elisilanda khona kubo Twitter when you want our votes, sicela ukuthi libone indlela yokuthi when there are town hall meetings, budget meetings, you look for us the same way ukwenzela ukuthi 2028 again senze khona ke sikwenzile. Thank you.
Mina ngikhulumayo ngusikhululekile Moyo, councillor oka Ward 17. Okokuqala ngithanda ukubonga ama-organizers for this meeting, iBPRA. Engithemba kuyindlela esizasebenzelana ngayo. Ngoba isikhathi esiningi iBPRA iyenza ama-challenges ukuthi iyadinga izinto ezirong ku-council, ingancedisi ukuthi isolve njani. But khathesi ngendlela abaqale ngayo ngithemba kuzaba yinto enhle ukuthi sisebenzelane. Okwesibili, kulo baba okhulume kabanzi ngokuthi sikhangele ama-suburbs ethu ukuthi siwabize ngendlela efaneleyo. King Mzilikazi, King Lobengula kuyinto eqhakathekileyo okuzancedisa labantu abethu ukuthi bathole indlela ukuthi imvelaphi yethu ivela ngaphi. Sikuzwile njalo ngizwile ukuthi uRote labhala incwadi ngo-2015 into eqhakathekileyo ukuthi isiko lethu lendlela ukuthi esiphila ngayo sibe kwazi sazise imvelaphi yethu. Okwesithathu umama opresente ngemthonjeni from emthonjeni sizwile ukuthi omama lama youth ku retention fund likhululekile ukusifinyelela emawadini lizokubona indlela esibamba ngayo. Maybe kusendaweni yokuthi kuma women wards lapho kulabo mama khona lokho into ebesisebenzisa phambilini sivakatshele nini lizobona ama projects esiwenzayo le communities. Ngibe sengisiya kusuku, it was very touching. Mina I'm hating ukuthi awuzange ungene ku council. I think sizasebenza ndawonye. I-disability desk okhulume ngayo is a priority, sizokukhangela. Ngibe sengisiya kubaba ukhulume ngokuthi ucela ukuthi sikhangele isikhathi samabhawa, sikhangele ukuthi kuvulwa isikhathi bani. Siyabonga kakhulu. Kodwa mina ngibona ukuthi ngamabhawa ahluphayo. Ngobani kanti abanathe emabhawa? Obaba wayesebevukele emabhawa ekuseni. I think ama-CSOs should also intervene. Look at the men, ama-challenges abalawo phandle. Ontanga siyakhala nge-drug and substance abuse, ngohlupho lokuthi bafundile i-economy ayibavumeli. Obaba bayahlukunyezwa ezindlini, bahleli ngikhaya basebenzi. And the option ukuthi kabahambe baye emabhawa, uthola bedakiwe lingakavuli ibhawa. So is it the beer gardens? Thina sikhula amabhawa ekhona. Sikhula ama-box store ekhona. So the problem is not amabhawa, the problem is the economy. Lokuthi there is no one taking care of those men outside there. Ba vulnerable kubuhlungu, bayahlukunyezwa ezindlini, bayaxoshwa ngoba balamali. So i-option ukuthi ayinathi njengo. We understand. So kumele sincedisane, ngiyabonga for the ideas because ubulawayo ngowethu. And engufisayo ukuthi asisoze sikhulume silapha namhlanje. We are all citizens. We belong to ama wards sonke silapha. So engukhangeleleyo ukuthi lonke lilapha livele emawadini esisuka khona. Kumele siyobambisana ngoba umsebenzi ngokabulawayo. Asoka police maker, asoka councillor. Ucouncillor ukhona ukuthi limthume agijime, not to make decisions eyedwa. So ngithemba ukuthi sisuka lapha work together for a better Bulawayo. Ngiyabonga.
I'm happy that you have allowed us to gather different stakeholders and potent contributions been made, and we were noting that, and I can tell you that we are going to implement that. But I also believe that there is for us to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. The Bible says, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and turn away from wickedness, and begin to pray, I, Jehovah, I will heal their land. And I believe as a city, there is a section of stakeholders that we need to seriously engage, called the church, that they will stand each and every time and pray for our city. Remember, it's not about the one who willeth, but it's about the one who shows mercy. So we need to be on board in that direction so that these things that we are crying about, the njengu, the what, I think there is something spiritual that is to be done so that we arrest that kind of things. And as a city, as a councillor, I propose that we bring the church so that we have some prayers, maybe weekly or monthly, as a city, focusing mainly on the city of Flower. Thank you very much.
Siyabonga. Thank you so much for that contribution.
The name is Alec Lovu from Ward 25. Allow me to appreciate BPRA for bringing us together with all these civil society organizations and the think tanks that have given us insightful, views about how we should go forward as councillors. Can I assure you from the very onset that according to the pronouncements by His Worship and most of my colleagues here, you'd agree with me that definitely when it comes to littering, because I have an interest in the culture change that we talked about, there is definitely going to be a policy shift. Our laws are going to be definitely changed in terms of how those who engage in littering do. I worked in Botswana for over 20 years. What my brother Nyati referred to there, I saw it happening. It was all to do with the policies, punitive action against the offenders. So that one I can assure you, but not only having to apply and relook at our laws. Each and every councillor, can we make a pledge to these people who are present here that when we go back to our wards, there is need for us to make sure that in every ward meeting that we hold, we have an agenda about this mindset shift, the culture shift of littering. These dumps, the public dumps that we see, they do not just happen on their own. It is men and women and our children who are given litter bags to go and throw away. And yet City Council has been doing quite a commendable job to say every week on a particular day which is made known to the residents of that particular ward, a council refuse truck passes by. So we need to make sure that it is also coupled by an education program, a robust one for that matter. There is need for us to do a lot of awareness raising. This is an appeal which I just want to make. Thank you.
So I'll call upon the coordinator of Webulayo Progressive Residents Association, Mrs. Permanent Ngoma, ukuthi azosenzela ama closing remarks.
Siyabonga isikhathi elisithethayo to come and engage with us. Njenge-BPRA asisebenzi sodwa. We work with many other organizations that took their time and made this event possible. Ngithanda ukuthi ngibabonge all the different organizations that were part of us, and sithanda ukubonga a-response that we got from the new council. Ukuthi silijele nge-last minute, but you all came in your numbers, labuya lazo-engage lathi. We feel that this is the beginning of a very good relationship, and we all know that in every relationship, each person has a role that they play. And one of the things that we need to continuously do in this relationship is to keep each other accountable. Tinanja civil society, I think we so many times that we're going to hold the councillors accountable. So especially the council it hold us accountable. Yes, the system is communities. As discussed, I just want to highlight just one or two things. As the new coming council, I'm going to prioritize the issue of corruption that was mentioned. And one of the suggested ways, maybe let's think around the declaration of assets for the incoming councillors to try and cap the issue of corruption. Let's also prioritize our outstanding projects, like we have Igodini Mall. That has been lying like that for so many years now. And siyakhala ngama vendors ababo 6th Avenue, that's all over town. Siyakhala ngemchova everywhere town akusela proper ranking places because there is no designated place like imchova emakhona lapha abantu abangathengisela khona. So besicela ukuthi njenge-council, can you please prioritize the Godini project? Also, let's look at the Gwai Shangani pipeline project. We have the Ishamans, when look at the water kiosk, even during our campaigns, councillors and the MPs, is that who we are now as Bulawayo? What we want to drink our water from boreholes. Tonight, we don't want, we're not mediocre. That's what we want. That's the flower that we want to see. Let's also prioritize the investment of the city. Mina growing up, well, ngakula nhlala opposite amabha akhulunyeka kakhulu namhla. Ngakula opposite Emmanuel Bar. And I believe then it was one of the incomes that the city council would get. So let's also revisit those properties, those assets, to see how can the city leverage from those projects. And okugcina ngizagcizelela okukhulunywa nguDBT lapha ukuthi namhla we're here together discussing our issues. Let's not come back again in 5 years' time to discuss the same issues. As civic society, we are committed to providing this kind of platform every 6 months, biannually, to come together and review. I have highlighted just 5 major action points siwa flag out. And for next meeting, which will be in 6 months' time, we're going to sit back and say, we spoke about the campaign, the cleanup campaign of the city. How far are we? Did we clean the city? What do we need to do to improve? Decentralization of licensing. But I'm just picking things that I feel we're able to do in this first 6 months. Decentralization of licensing. How far have we gone? E-licensing, is it still abantu are now able to pay for their licenses? Kuma housing offices are in different locations. Ward committee, ward development committees. Let's have a disability inclusion in those committees. In 6 months' time, we're going to come back and say, how are our committees, how are they structured kuma wards? And also, we spoke about auditing our assets of Bulawayo City Council and maybe also reviewing of bylaws. I just picked a few things that I feel don't need a lot of resources or a lot of money that we can do in these first 6 months. And as civic society, I'm saying as a civic society, we are committing our time to making sure these things will be done. And we can only achieve this now as the new council. I thank you.